Hi guys. So we often talk about the debugging capabilities of Cypress, time to travel debugger and whatnot, but we forget that Cypress wraps the browser. So any way we debug our application classically with DevTools or anything else is also available when we use Cypress. So here we have the Tool of Heroes application served locally. Now I'm going to insert a debugger, and for the debugger to work, you just have to remember that your DevTools has to be open. Right, so let's just insert a debugger anywhere. And of course, if you have a linter, that's going to complain, so you can temporarily disable that. So what this will do is anytime this page renders, the debugger will kick off just like this, right at that spot where we started debugging, right? And then we can just debug over, all that good stuff. So this is no Cypress. You're just debugging the normal way, okay? So let's say we have an end-to-end test, and I have launched Cypress here. So let me just start things from scratch, and I will just write a test that does basically nothing, just launches that page, and that's going to be an e2e test. So I'll go to this one, and instead of doing usual things, let's see, I will just have it something for debug. Sure, debug. This is just a demo, right? It's not going to be. So let's just visit the main page. So I visit, okay, and that's it. Nothing else. Right? So first, let's just run that test without anything else. No debugger. So we'll just, this is a component test, so let's just switch that up. Let's just launch things from the beginning. Why don't we do that? So this is a full demo. Okay. So yarns, I open e2e. Let it open e2e test. We got on the create hero test. We can close our browser we were demoing debugger with. So at the moment, same as now, let's just have the debugger off first, right? So let's just run the test by itself. And here it just visits the heroes page, nothing else. Okay. So now we go to the source code, the heroes tsx file. We put the debugger in. Okay. And we go to the Cypress test and we have DevTools open. Okay. And just save. And then as soon as we rerun the test or save, again, within the Cypress test, within the end-to-end test, we have the debugger right there in the same spot. I think this is just fantastic, right? I don't know why people don't rave about this. Maybe to Cypress engineers, this is obvious, right? It wraps the browser, right? But the first question I usually get from initiating users is, can you debug in the IDE? And yes, whatever you do with your normal browser, however you debug there, you debug the same way, right? So that's the example for an end-to-end test. Nothing changes. All you have to do is enter your debugger to wherever you want your source code, and you run the end-to-end test while from DevTools is open. All right. So let's put that aside. Let's just do the same thing in a component test. Right? I think this is also next level. But instead of the full application, now we're only worried about a component. So before it was a end-to-end test right here. We showed you how to do it with an end-to-end test. So just close that. And let's just open the component test. Now, what has to happen? Let's just minimize all this stuff. What has to happen for a component test? Like, what's the equivalent of site visit in a component test? Well, you just have to mount the component, right? Nothing else. So we'll just do a demo here too. And then we'll only run that test. Okay. And let's see how we're mounting the components here. And this is it. I have a custom mount apparently. And looks like I'm intercepting the network, so I can list this render. So I'll just copy that from here. Okay, easy. So what's going to happen is if you're hitting the heroes route, it's going to use some JSON so that we have a nice list rendering. So this is it, nothing else, right? I have nothing. It's just site visit, usual site visit. Let's just remove debugger first and then just run this test once so we see what's happening. We are doing component test. This is zero site ESX. Okay, this is it, just running normally, rendering this list. Right now, there's no debug. So we go to our source code, enter the debugger, right? And in Cypress, we just have to have DevTools open. That's the only requirement. Save. And then as soon as we run the test, boom, we're in the same spot. So we are debugging the source code while running Cypress, right? Whether it's a component test or an end-to-end test, we can debug the source code when running a Cypress test. It's the same experience, right? So not a lot of people know that this can be done, and yeah, it's not advertised for some reason, but it's just fantastic that not only you can debug your end-to-end test when the full application server, which maybe makes sense, but in a component test where you have only one component and you're entering a debugger and you can debug that, that's just mind-blowing to me. So hats off to Cypress engineers, for architects, and whoever founded it for enabling this kind of an experience. That's all.